Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. In this session, we continue to look at questions which have come in from a variety of different sources. Some of them by way of email. Some of them have been sent in from schools. And we have, I'll begin with a set of questions which were given to me by students at the Oxford School here in Dubai. These questions, a variety of issues that are relevant or pertinent to young people. The first question, which comes under the general heading of intermingling of sexes, they asked, is it haram to have girlfriends or boyfriends? I mean, this is what they're usually confronted with. The common practice in Western schools, from children are quite young all the way down to the primary levels, the children are encouraged to develop male-female relationships. So, girls will have boyfriends, boys will have girlfriends. And, of course, this is the natural consequence also of the girls and boys studying together. Whereas, in an Islamic school, the Islamic approach, there should be a separation of the sexes. Males are separated from females. So this kind of activity would be lessened. But of course, no matter how much a person tries to make these separations, young people influenced by the dominant world culture, Western culture, will still fall into some of these practices or traps. And the question arises, should, or is it haram actually, or is it just something disliked? Is it haram for boys to have girlfriends and girls to have boyfriends? Well, the point is what age, the point is what constitutes a boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, these are the issues that we need to look at. If we're talking about little children who are 3 years old, 4 years old, these ages, up to the age of 7, then the children are allowed to be educated from Islamic perspective together up to that age, to the age of 7. Why 7? Because the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had said, teach your children prayer at the age of 7 and spank them for it by the age of 10 and separate them in their beds. By him instructing that salah, prayer, be taught at the age of 7, he didn't just mean that the child learns the movements and they will just imitate the movements that you make. No, it means they learn the prayer and what is necessary for that prayer. They learn how to make wudu. They learn that they must cover themselves properly for prayer. They learn, all the different principles that govern prayer. I mean, that a young person at that age can grasp at the age of 7. And virtually all of the major things can be grasped. So much so that the children, even at this age, can lead the whole community or individuals in the home in prayer. We know one of the companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he had narrated that when he had gone with a delegation to the Prophet ﷺ, they had accepted Islam, and he taught them, and they stayed and learned with him for a while. And after teaching them, he instructed them that they, when they go back to their tribe, that the one who knows the most Qur'an should lead them in prayer. So when they had finished their instructions and, they went back to the tribe and they looked around to see who knew the most Qur'an, it was him. And he was only 6 or 7 years old at the time. And he said, from that point onward, I led my tribe in prayer. So, obviously, this is somebody, 6, 7 years old. He not only he needs to know what to do if he makes a mistake. He needs to make, sujud to sahaw. This is the additional prostrations for forgetfulness. He needs to know if he passes wind, he has to leave prayer. The various requirements that they need to know about prayer, they should be taught. And they can be taught at that age. This is why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had prescribed it. So, at the same time, this is also the age when they're also learning about separation. They should not, as children now, they should be very, very, very much aware of covering their aura properly, not looking at the aura of others, that is the private parts of others, private parts of the body. The little girls should be properly covered. They should not expose any parts of their body which they're not normally going to be allowed to expose when they reach puberty. They should be taught that from this point, so that they develop that sense of consciousness of their bodies in that sense. And connected to it is all the other things. They're fasting. They should be taught to fast at that period of time. They should be encouraged to give charity, and all of the various aspects of religion. So what is connected with this is also the separation of the sexes. So at this point, that separation needs to take place. They need to know that boys and girls shouldn't be alone together. Why? Because as the Prophet ﷺ said, the third is Satan. The third is Satan. So in the earlier ages, 3 years old, 4 years old, where children are not aware of these kind of differences, sure, they can have friends back and forth because this is an innocent friendships. But once they start to reach 7, there is a change which has taken place in the child, which is psychological and emotional. Changes are now taking place. This is why the Prophet ﷺ designated 7. And in fact, modern educational psychologists, etc., do identify 7 as a major turning point, 10 as another point. So the children should learn that they shouldn't have these relationships from then. So naturally, young people, those who pass this question on to me, these are students already in high school, definitely this is not permissible. It's not permissible not because it is prohibited for a girl to speak to a boy or a boy to speak to a girl, because it is not in Islam. But where it becomes a girlfriend and boyfriend, meaning they have developed a relationship, a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship is, in fact, a love relationship, a relationship of love, where people are holding hands or wanting to hold hands or to kiss or to these other things. These are the things that come along with boyfriend and girlfriend, and these are prohibited in Islam. It's prohibited. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, just in terms of holding hands, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said that it is better to have an iron spike driven in your head than to touch someone you can marry. Than to touch someone you can marry. This is how severe it is. Because that touch is the beginning. The touch is the beginning which eventually leads to sexual activity. It is a beginning. And so Islam seeks to close that door as soon as it is necessary. Close the door so that the consequences, the other things that will come down once you open that door, these can be prevented. So we can say that from the Islamic perspective, to have boyfriends or girlfriends is forbidden in Islam. Forbidden. The second question is going to discos haram? Again, young people influenced by Western culture, because of course this has nothing to do with Islam. If a child is raised within an Islamic environment, the idea of going to a disco would be completely out of their mind. But now these are young people growing up, watching television, going to movies, reading novels, all of which promote the dance party. You know, the disco is just another version of it. You know, where boys and girls get together, young men, young women get together, and they're dancing to the music. Is this haram? Of course it is haram. The music that is being played is haram. We're going to, this one of their questions also. We'll look at that in more detail when we get to it. But besides the haramness of the music, that the dance that they're doing, the dancing oftentimes involves touching. This is a boyfriend-girlfriend situation again. This is the environment for building that relationship, that boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And all the movements of modern dance, they're all sexually suggestive. They're vulgar. They're corrupt. So that whole scene is a corrupt and haram scene. Now, if somebody says, "But and I'm not going there. I'm not going to be dancing or anything. I just want to go with my friends, and we'll drink some orange juice and whatever." No, because it is a corrupt environment. To go in that environment is to be corrupted. You may initially only go there just to watch, and before you know it, you end up on the dance floor with everybody else. And that whole environment, as I said, with the music and everything else, is a haram environment. So we would have to say it definitely is haram to go to discos or to have parties in which boys and girls are coming together. These are over the age of 7 and up, 6, 7 and up. They're coming together and they're dancing with each other, because that's what we're talking about. Really, discos has to do with dancing, boys and girls dancing together. Now, if girls have a party, all-girl party, and the girls do some folk dances, they do some folk dances, some dances which are traditional in the society where the girls dance together, whatever, but the dances are not sexually suggestive, then that's permissible. Similarly, if the males get together, whatever, and they do some traditional dances, but again, should be dances which are not sexually suggestive. This again is permissible, but it's the mixing of the two which becomes clearly haram. And furthermore, the type of dancing, which is the sexually suggestive dancing, this is also completely forbidden. So it means even if it's not disco that you're going to, but you have a party, whatever is the end of the school year party or the end of the midterm party or whatever party that you have, where you're bringing the boys and the girls together, and that environment in itself, which is promoting boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, and furthermore, the dancing in that environment would be haram, forbidden in Islam, sinful. The question, third question, is a friendly relationship between boys and girls haram when they have no bad intentions and they consider each other as brothers and sisters? Again, a friendly relationship with no bad intentions. Well, again, as they say, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. We don't judge right and wrong based on intention. So if you have a good intention, this haram things becomes halal. If you have a bad intention, well then the haram thing is really haram and bad. No. If it is haram, whether you have a good intention or a bad intention, it's still haram. Doesn't change it. So what we're talking about is that relationship itself. The friendly relationship is the first step. The step to boyfriend and girlfriend. Because what starts out as just a friendly relationship, we talk over the telephone, we see each other in school, we sit for lunch together, in the lunchroom or whatever, we're just friends. We're only talking about school, talking about our parents, talking about, general things. It's just a matter of time before that discussion shifts to something of a I love you relationship. How much do you love me, and all these other kinds of things. It's just a matter of time. So, though the initial relationship may be quite innocent and there isn't actual haram going on, that is, of course, as long as they're not alone together, because again, if one says, okay, we're just going to have this friendly relationship, nobody's going to, talk about anything, but we'll go and be in rooms, alone, and we close the door. I will go over, as a young boy, I'm going over to my neighbor's house. My neighbor, the girl, she's in my class, we study together, we just, and we're going to go into her bedroom and we'll be studying together and close the door. Oh, this is haram. This is forbidden. One may say, oh, we're just doing our homework. Please. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a young man and a young woman, or a man and a woman, are alone, the third is shaitan. So that environment, that circumstance would not be allowed. It's one thing if, for example, your neighbor is having some problems with their homework and so, so you come over and in the presence of the mother's sitting there, you come and you try to explain something. No, this is how it's done, that is how it's done, whatever. In the presence of the mother or the father, no problem. That keeps it innocent. So it's not to say that a young man may not ever speak to a young woman. Given some circumstance like that, in the presence of the father, yes, you could explain how this work is done, how this homework is done. So, but just going and saying, we're going to go study now, and you're off on your own, nobody around to supervise or to keep track of what is going on. No, this is haram. It leads to haram. And as they say, whatever is haram, those things or those steps which are necessary to get to that haram also become haram. Right? To get to this point of haram, you have to go up these stairs. These stairs are also haram. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, in which we have been answering some of the questions from the young boys and girls from Oxford School in Dubai. And we hope that you'll continue to follow our program throughout the year. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.